your makeup for shows, your makeup for auditions, like how to kind of find the balance between the two. It's definitely important, I think, to kind of find that balance between what you're walking into an audition room with and what you would wear for stage. And so speaking with Kiri yesterday, I was saying what's their preference on what they like to see for the agency in terms of makeup. And I think it's really important to kind of go in with a blank canvas. So something really, really neutral, kind of nice eyes, nice skin, a good strong lip. You can't really go wrong with that kind of look. And then from an agency point of view, it allows them to kind of like bracket you into what category they think you could work in. Rather than if you're going in for a set showgirl audition, you kind of know already, right, that's where I can whack out my full glam, my full lashes, and that kind of overall look. So I think it's really important to first of all sit down and look at what you're going up for. If you're going up for Les Mis, you really know to kind of like tone back that makeup, keep it really neutral, don't go in with a red lip and a big eyelash. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, like tailoring it. I've been on a few panels before where I've personally found it frustrating when someone comes in with a headshot that is really natural and they look beautiful in it, but the person standing before you is in a full face of makeup that doesn't look anything like the picture. So I think that's really hard sometimes to compare the two. So I think it's definitely a good one to, when you're having your headshots done, have some with a full face of makeup on, have some that are more natural. So when you're going in for those different auditions, you can think, right, I'm going to go in with this look, so I'm going to pick that headshot so that it's going to match up together and it's going to be easier for the panel to recognize me and who I am. So I'll start with like a couple of little, I'm basically going to work through the full face and just discuss a couple of products that I have sworn by, I love, and I just think they have really worked for me personally over the years of performing. So first of all, eye shapes. The world of eye shapes is a massive, massive minefield. Everyone has a different eye shape and it's really difficult sometimes. I think with the world that we're in now, there's so many Instagram tutorials, which is great, but you've kind of got to learn to tailor it to you. So try not to copy them word for word almost, because that might not be what suits your eye shape. So the best way I can kind of explain it in a really easy, simple term, if you turn to the side, so give yourself and take a picture, and you will see the dimensions of your face. So you will see what sits further forward and what sits further back. So in terms of your eye shape, if you turn to the side, you will naturally see whether your brow bone is further forward or your eye socket is further forward, and vice versa, where kind of sticks out already. So in terms of that, then you can kind of assess where you're going to put your highlighter, where you're going to put your darker shades of makeup. So what I would suggest, say if you have a really prominent socket, so that means where your eye socket kind of sticks out a bit further and your brow bone is a bit further back. So if that is the case, what I would advise for you to do is to whack on a really matte kind of darker colour, whether that's a black, whether it's a kind of dark chocolate, literally all over the lid. You don't want a shimmer at all over the lid if your eyelid is the most prominent. And then what you would do is you would put a highlighter on your brow bone, because that's where you want to create that kind of shape that isn't naturally there. So you're just learning on where it is you need to enhance that kind of product. A lot of people kind of cling to that thing of, right, I have to put highlighter in that inner corner, and that isn't necessarily the case with your eye shape. If you have got a smaller eye, you necessarily don't always want to open it up there. You might want to open it up in the center. So try popping a bit of your highlighting color in the center and go a darker either side, and that creates what we would call a spotlight eye. So for me personally, I love that eye. On me, it really opens up my eyes, makes my eyes pop. I could literally spend hours talking about eye shapes, but if anyone does have a question about their own eye shape, literally drop me a message on Instagram with a picture of your eye, and I'll be able to kind of advise you and just say, try it this way and try it that way, so it can kind of tailor more towards you. So I'm then going to talk about colours. Colours on your eye. You want to avoid using too much shimmer, especially for stage purposes. Obviously, in an audition room, that's really, really different because we've not got that stage light on us. But on stage, we really want to kind of stick to those matte colours. You can use then a highlighting or a glitter colour of where you want to highlight, but try and avoid using all of your colours as a shimmer. Some people like to use literally all 4 colours that they're using and they're all a shimmer. Try and avoid that. Try and use a really like warm kind of dense colour. So in terms of colours and your eye colour, what I would always recommend, say if you have blue eyes like myself, I have a bluey greeny eye. So what I do to naturally enhance that is I would use more of an orangey brown colour, because it's the opposite on the spectrum of the colour wheel. So if you look at a colour wheel, literally find your eye shape, look across the other side, and what colour is opposite is what's going to kind of clash almost against your eye colour and make it pop. If I'm using something that's kind of cool tones, it just blends in with my eye and doesn't make them stand out. Rather than if I use those kind of warmy browns, it really helps my eye colour pop. So I think that's definitely one to remember, especially in a audition situation, because you want to walk into that audition room, and if you have got fantastic eyes, you want to make them pop, and you want that to be something that's going to make you stand out over someone else. So I'm going to go on to a couple of my must-have products. I've got a little setup down here for eyes. So one of them is MAC Liquid Last Eyeliner. So this eyeliner will be your saving grace for auditions, for anything like that. It will not budge. It will stay on all day long. You will go into that audition room at 8 o'clock in the morning, and by your call back at 6 o'clock, it will still be perfect. Your sweat will run over it. Trust me, I've tried and tested this. I've done 3 shows, jumped in the shower, jumped out the shower, and it's still been on. So with this, I would just recommend when you come to take it off, you definitely need a really heavy oil-based remover. One thing I will say about the brush, it is a very, very soft brush, if you can see that. For me personally, I struggle to use a soft brush. I need something a bit firmer. So sometimes I just switch out the brush. So yeah, that is the MAC Liquid Last Eyeliner. It's 24-hour wearing, waterproof. It's phenomenal. Something to do as well, a lot of people ask me as a makeup artist, they say, I can't do eyeliner. Can't do it, can't do it, can't do it. And I say it is all about practice. It's all about just knowing your own eye shape. One thing that I think is really a good tip to do is to do your eyeliner with your eye open. So literally look into the screen or into your mirror. I say screen, I'm looking at the screen. Into your mirror and just kind of trace it whilst your eye's open. And then go to stretch your eye and pull it. The more you stretch your eye, the easier you're going to find it, because it's going to make that skin really taut, and it's going to make it a lot easier for your brush to run over. If you don't stretch your eye, what you're going to find is the eyeliner is going to crease, and if you ever find it looks bobbly, and that's what will happen. So you need to literally make that eye as taut as possible, literally yank that skin back, and then it will go on a lot smoother. One product that is a really helping hand when you're learning eyeliner is something like this. It's called Fast Response Eye Cream, or any eye cream, in fact, anything that is eye based. You'll literally find that you'll be able to get it on a brush and just scoop it across, like scoop it up. Would you suggest doing eyes? I would always suggest doing eyes first, just because of fallout. I find it a lot easier. It's a lot easier of a clean up, basically. Otherwise, I find you'll waste a lot of foundation, where if you get fallout, you're going to have to wipe it off. You're just wasting a lot of product. So I find it's always easier. Start with your eyes. Then it doesn't matter how messy you go. It doesn't matter if you get eyeliner back here, because you've got nothing else on your skin already. So I think it's a lot easier just to start with nothing on your skin. Focus on your eyes and get them perfect. Then moving on would be our eyelashes. For me, when I was working on a ship, you go through, I don't know if any other girls find this, you go through eyelashes like no tomorrow. Literally, I used to hate it because I feel like I would spend so much money on lashes and they'd just be shriveled in my pot. So one thing that helped me, I used to order my lashes on Amazon and eBay. It sounds a bit dodgy, but you can literally get a pack of 10 for about £8. They're a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper way than buying the individual eye lure packs, because that way you're looking at about £6 an eyelash. So it's just an easier way. And then one thing I would recommend is getting the duo glue. This glue will literally last forever as well. You can buy them in big tubes, and it's about £12 for the big one. So I think if you're definitely on a contract, get the big one, because it lasts. It's a lot better value for money. And yeah, then I find you can use any eyelash. It doesn't matter whether they're cheap eyelashes, expensive eyelashes. As long as you've got a really good glue, you're going to be fine. Again, another thing I get asked a lot is, how do you apply eyelashes? A lot of people struggle with this because they try and close their eye when doing lashes. Again, the biggest and easiest way to do it is keep your eye open, look at your mirror, and literally place them down. So place them on the lid, and then take your fingers and your forefinger and literally press them on. So you're going to be squeezing it onto the natural lash. That way you'll find that the lash has already sat onto your skin line, rather than if you close your eyes, your eye naturally wrinkles, so that when you open your eye, that eyelash is going to pop off, which is what a lot of people find happen. They say it keeps popping off, it keeps flicking up in the corner. And that's because, again, the skin isn't taut. It needs to be as open as it can be so that you'll get it perfect. Yeah, oh, and I forgot to say, eye base. Eye base is so important. A lot of people forget about priming their eye. A lot of people use concealer, and I really, for show purposes and audition purposes, I really would steer away from concealer, because all it's going to do is create a liquid effect on your eye. So where your natural oils come through, it's going to help absorb that, and literally that's where you'll find your eyeshadow will literally slide off, and you'll think it looks like I've got nothing on, and that you haven't put anything on. So again, here's a MAC Cosmetics 24-hour eye base. It is so good. Literally, you take it out, pat it on your eyelid, give it about 30 seconds to set before going on with your eyeshadow colours. Again, then I find it helps. It's a staple product, because whether then you're using cheap eyeshadow or expensive eyeshadow, it doesn't matter, because you've got that really strong primer to hold it all on. So next up, I'm going to talk a little bit about skin. So once I've done my eyes, then I would come on to prep my skin. Again, then I can be as messy as I want. I just clear away my skin with a makeup wipe and start. So when prepping your skin, you always want to obviously remember your skin type. If you've got oily skin, if you've got combination skin, you kind of want to tailor it to that. If you have got oily skin, obviously I would say stay away from really heavy moisturizers. Just go on with a straight primer. But if you have got quite dry skin, you want to be looking for probably a moisturizer and then a primer to kind of just help hydrate. But obviously, in terms of when we're sweating on stage, you sometimes will find you won't even need a moisturizer. You'll just be able to go straight on with a primer. For me, I've got a bit of a combination skin, so I just literally use a really good primer. Dior do a really good one. It's in a little white bottle, and it's called Dior Backstage Face and Body, and that's a really nice primer to use. Also, if anyone's friends sell Arbonne, I know I don't personally sell it, but Arbonne actually do a really good primer. I had a chance of using it once, and if you've got really heavy pores and enlarged pores, it literally skims over your pores. So if that's something you really struggle with and you find that you're very pore heavy, I would really recommend getting in contact with someone who sells Arbonne, because it's really good actually. Another good primer is Natural Radiance from MAC Cosmetics. This is quite a popular one, and a lot of people do have this. But again, probably my favourite, I literally ran out the other day, is the Dior Backstage. Comes in a little white bottle. So once you've kind of prepped the skin and you've got the skin ready to go, you then want to move on to your foundation. One foundation that I will swear by forever and ever in terms of stage foundation is this. I don't know whether anyone's ever come across it. If you have, drop a little comment in the DMs, because I like to see who's obsessed with it as well as I am. It's from Kryolan. I think I say that right, or Kryolan. It's from Charles Fox originally. They have the brand Kryolan. They've got a shop in Covent Garden, and it's called a TV paint stick. So it literally is like that. Literally is like a paint stick. You twist it up and down. When I say this is incredible, it does not budge. Like, it's quite worrying how much it doesn't budge, because you can do 3 shows and your sweat literally runs over the top. I find it amazing, because I hate when you would go into an audition and at 9 o'clock you walk in and your face is looking fabulous, but by 2 o'clock after 2 dance rounds, you've got literally lines down your face of your sweat. With this, that will not happen. I can honestly promise you. And it's really, really cheap. I think, God, last time I bought it, it was about £13, but it is so good. So I think definitely invest in that. If anyone needs any help with shades, just drop me a little message. I actually found this through on one of my first contracts. One of the girls was using it, and I was like, how does your makeup stay on so well? And she showed me this, and it was because she was in Starlight Express. If anyone's done Starlight Express, you'll know about these, because this is what they use for all their paints and things like that. It comes in obviously every single colour, every single foundation shade. So 100% would recommend that. Another couple of two good foundations I also tried and tested. Huda Beauty, the faux filter it's called, is really, really lovely. It is quite expensive though. So I would just be careful in terms of using liquid, because you will waste a lot. You waste a lot of liquid foundation, rather than with your paint stick, it lasts forever, and where it's, you literally transfer it straight onto your skin, rather than when you're using a liquid, you are going to be wasting a lot, either transferring it onto your hand or onto a brush. So I think definitely take that into consideration. One thing I get asked a lot is good foundation worth it? And it definitely is, especially in terms of if you're wanting to look after your skin. I think it is worth investing the money. But if you are concerned about it, I would say stick with the Krolin stick, because it's really cheap and it lasts you forever, and you're not then wasting it. Another one is the MAC Cosmetics Pro Longwear Waterproof. Is really, really good. Where it's waterproof, again, the sweat kind of runs over it. It is a bit more expensive than the Krolin stick, so I would just stick with that personally. So then we're going to talk about contouring and with the paint stick. Yes, so I would then rub it in with a brush. You can then use a sponge. All I would say is where it's a bit dry, always wet the sponge before, and you'll find it moves a bit easier. I use a brush like this. This is a 170 from MAC, but as long as it's a dense brush, you're going to find that you're not going to get hair strokes. Rather than I would always stay away from brushes like this. Stay away from them, because all that's going to do is create lines on your skin. You're going to find that your foundation never looks even, it never looks blended. So I would say always stick with something that's a bit more pressurized, and you get a bit more, it's easier to buff it into the skin. But yeah, with the Krolin stick, I would recommend, I don't often like beauty blenders because I think they waste a lot of your product, but with the Krolin stick, where it sits on your skin, you'll find nothing kind of transfers, and it works quite well. Then contouring and highlighting your skin. So once you kind of got your base of foundation on, you're then going to want to look at structuring your skin and giving yourself kind of that illusion look. One thing we always kind of, an easy way to explain to people is the shape of a 3. So all you're going to do is take your contour, your darker kind of tones, kind of in the shape of the 3. You want to always avoid this area. So this area here, you never want to put a dark colour here, because if you do that, it's going to give the illusion that your face is really closed in and narrow. So we always want to kind of, you know, we all want to look younger. So we always kind of want to give that illusion of everything being pulled back. So if you keep it lighter there, it's going to give you that illusion that it's tapered back. So yeah, you're going to bring your contour around here, bring it down here, and then take it down and under your chin. So it's like the shape of a 3. Again, in terms of stage makeup, I would avoid using anything that's got too much of a shimmery pigment, because it's just going to pick up on the light. So you want to use something that's quite dense colours, quite matte. One I would recommend is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Contour Kit. So this God, mine's so battered. It comes with 6 colours. So you've got your kind of cooler tones and a bit more of a warmer, and then you've got your lighter tones to kind of just set powder underneath your eye. I would definitely recommend this, because you could kind of transfer between all 3, and as well in terms of ship contracts, it's great, because then you can, when you get a bit more of a tan, you've got those darker colours already there, and you're not having to make do with just that one powder. So yeah, once you've kind of done that, you've contoured it into place, then you can go in with a highlighter. I would, again, avoid using anything that is too much of a glitter pigment. With highlighters, you can find that some have like a sheen to it and some are a glitter. All I would say as well is in terms of liquid highlighters, if you put powder on, don't then put a liquid highlighter on, because it won't work. You need to put it on before the stage, when you've put your kind of liquid foundation on. That's when you need to be putting your liquid highlighter on. Never try and use it over a powder, because it's just, you'll get that kind of where it looks cakey and it goes a bit like crispy. That's what happens. So you kind of want to avoid doing that. So I would then just suggest using any kind of highlighter, again, just not one with too much of a glitter pigment. So then you've kind of got your structure base of a face. Obviously then you can contour. We would normally always say contour where that little bit is of your ear. That's where you want to bring the contour down from. You don't want it to take too high and you don't want it to come too low. So kind of go from that middle centerpiece of the ear and bring it down and in. Then you're obviously going on, I would always recommend a bit of a blusher. When I was younger, I had a really weird thing against using blusher. I was like, no, hate blusher. But it is definitely important just to give yourself a bit of colour. It's really nice as well. A little nice tip is to always kind of match in your blusher to your eyeshadow colour. So it kind of works along those kind of tones. So rather than using a bright pink and then you've got, you know, like we're all three again, where we've got blue eyeshadow and pink cheeks and a red lip. We don't want that look. So I think just kind of stick to that neutral kind of tone. With your blusher, when you apply it, you want to apply it and take it up. So kind of drag it up rather than dragging it down, because you don't want it to fall too close to here. You want to kind of sweep it up into that cheekbone. One thing I definitely recommend doing is using the same brush for your contour, highlight and blusher, because you then get a really nice blend on it. A lot of makeup artists, if you go into a store, will be like, no, you need a blusher brush, you need a highlighting brush. I always just say, no, get one really decent brush. I love this one. Sorry, it is dirty because I've just used it. But again, you get that soft even finish if you're using the same brush for all three. If you are finding you're getting too much of a stripe of a highlighter, it's because the fan brush, sometimes it doesn't disperse. So you're better off using something that's fluffier, and then it all blends in to create a kind of really like nice soft and sculpted look. So then going on to lipstick. Lipstick obviously is a minefield. There are so many lipsticks out there. I would definitely recommend using matte lipsticks, retro matte lipsticks. Liquid lipsticks are really good. I have a couple from NYX, do some really good ones if you're looking at, you're wanting that cheaper scale. They're really good. And also MAC do some, they're called retro matte liquid lips. You can get these, they do about 15 colours. It's what one I've got on today. The one I've got on today is called Fashion Legacy, actually. And they're really good. Again, they don't budge. You can eat, you can drink. So when you're doing a show, you don't then have to worry about, oh, my lipstick's run out, I've got to top it up. You will find this lipstick, I'll put it on at 7 in the morning, and by probably about 4 o'clock, I'll need to top it up. So it's a really good one to have in terms of that, in terms of the staying power. Oh, I love this, Natasha. Me and Natasha actually went to college, not the same year, but we went to college together, went to the same college. So yeah, does anyone have any questions that they want me to answer while I'm here, like in terms of makeup, in terms of placement? One thing we kind of touched on a little bit was, I always think just tailor your makeup to you. Don't try and cover up too much. If you've got really good skin, play with that and go into an audition room and absolutely rock the fact that you've got incredible skin and you don't need loads of makeup. Don't feel like you have to fit into that category of, I've got to have my makeup like A, B and C. If I don't have really bad skin, but I suffer with a bit of like rosacea, so when I perform I go quite red in the face from like sweating and things like that. So I have to have that coverage. But if I didn't, I would literally wear a really nice face and body kind of cream. Lip balm before lipstick. Again, that depends on your lip. If you have really dry lips, some places do a lip primer, which is really good. Or just use but I would advise against anything too oily. So don't use anything like Vaseline because it's oil based. So you want to use something that's quite dry, and Carmex is quite good, and to pop that on before anything like that where it's not too oily. Vaseline is literally just like jelly, so it will slide your lipstick a little bit more. Setting sprays, that's a good one. There are a few good setting sprays out there. My one trust you trick that I still swear by in terms of stage makeup, it is really bad for your skin, but it is hairspray. Like, I don't know whether anyone else does it or it was just me when I was younger. It works a treat, but Urban Decay actually do a really, really good setting spray. MAC Cosmetics do a setting spray, but it's disclaimer, it's not actually a setting spray. It's more of a fixing for your skin. So you actually use it before makeup more so rather than after. So if you're looking for a fixing spray, I would definitely recommend the Urban Decay one. Really, really good. What brush do I use for my contour blush and highlight? I use the MAC Cosmetics one, and it is 150, no, 168. God, it's so used that the numbers like buffed away. But yeah, anything quite fluffy, and that, do you see where it has an angle on it? That's really good, because you'll find then it's easier to get that placement. If anything's too big and fluffy, it's just going to blur all over your skin. So you still want something that is quite dense so that you can get that placement perfect, really. Any tips on nose contouring? I haven't actually touched on nose contouring, really. Nose contouring, I would recommend you need a flat brush, 100% a flat brush. If you get a fluffy brush, it's going to be going everywhere. I would recommend using a dense colour. So on my Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, I would use this one. Do you see where it's not warm, it's quite a cool flat colour? That's what you want to do if you're wanting to create that kind of shadow. And I literally would just take it, and you want to just take it on that inside. So just see where the brush is flat, you're going to be able to get that structure. So then it's really hard to do. And when you then bluff that out and into the skin, you see how that side of my nose looks a lot more structured in, because I've just done that tiny little section there. It doesn't suit I don't suit nose contouring because it makes me look a bit bog-eyed, but I've done that for you just for a little tip. And as well, I would really avoid this whole nose contour, the nose highlight, because again, in terms of what I was saying earlier, in terms of the placement of what sits and what sits back on your skin, when you think your nose is the most prominent thing on your face, so when people sticking highlighter down their nose, that's the first thing anyone sees. And is that the first thing you want someone to see? For me personally, I'm like, no, I'd rather them see my eyes. So I don't really apply highlighter to my nose. If I apply any, it's literally to that tiny little bit on the bottom, so it gives more of like that curved shape upwards. Eyebrows are pure blonde. I would recommend, do you know brow gels? So if you're wanting that fuller look, get a brow gel first. You know, the ones that come in, I've not got mine here, it's in my kit, that literally scrape up. It's like a little wand. I would recommend popping that on first. You can buy ones that are coloured. Pop that on first to create that kind of fluffiness upwards, and then go in with a little pencil just to give yourself a bit more of a defined line underneath. Blonde, it is really hard with blonde eyebrows, sorry, to get that kind of definition without them looking too caterpillary. Again, with brows, we've got this big trend at the moment that is the big fluffy laminated brows. That is all well and good, but I would just say be careful on how big you go, especially for audition purposes. You know, audition panels aren't into the trends, they're into the show that's in hand. So I think be careful on how much into a trend you go, and try and be able to just tame them, because not everyone wants that look. I think that's something definitely to remember. And for me personally, as a makeup artist, when training, it's really easy to see people that are doing these cut creases. Like P. Louise on Instagram is phenomenal. Her work is insane, but it's not wearable. It's not something that I would wear down the street. So I think it's finding that really good balance. What's best to use to apply eyeshadow? Again, always fluffy brushes. I have a selection. I mean, I do have a lot of brushes. So I go between the MAC 224 brush, which is that one, and the God, the number's rubbed off on this. I think it's a 160. It's a little smaller one, so you can really get that into the crease. So it's really, really helpful, that one. But again, I would just say anything quite fluffy. Again, you always want to make sure you've got one that's more dense and one that's fluffier to blend, because no one wants to see kind of like a structured line. You always want to just be able to blend it out really, really nicely. So keep one. I would always recommend when you're doing your eyeshadow, keep one aside that doesn't have any shadow on it, so that when you're going through those stages of layering, you can literally just buff it out and it will create, and you kind of build and build layers from there. But again, if anyone has any questions in terms of eyes, I know it is a minefield, just drop me a message on Instagram and I'll be really happy to help kind of explain for you, because otherwise it's just, it takes forever. But yeah, does anyone else have any questions? I think I will do a little post as well if it's easier. If people's connections are going in and out, I'll do a little, I'll type up a little post recommendation and then just drop me a message and I can send it to you, if that's a bit easier rather than kind of listening. It's easy to get lost in what I'm saying. I think I answered all those questions. Yeah, rosacea is a nightmare. It is really difficult to kind of handle. Oh. Oh, I don't know what happened then. Did I go blank on anyone else's screen, or was it just mine? Mascara recommendations. With mascara, I am very open to any kind of one. I would just say waterproof, waterproof, waterproof. The cheap drugstore ones are really great. I don't, for some of my friends know I'm quite snobby, not snobby about makeup, but I like to invest in really good makeup, and I like to, you know, try out good makeup. But one thing I'm not fussed about, and I think is even across the whole board, is mascara. Lancome do a really good one. Their waterproof one is incredible, but it is that bit more of a pricier end. So I think if you're looking for something, I think it's L'Oreal do a really good waterproof one. So I just think anything waterproof, again, it will go really well with the liquid last liner, so you'll find then that your makeup literally stays throughout the day. So I think definitely that is a big thing, especially from a panel point of view. They want to see the same person that's walked in on that morning, and they want to see that same person when it's callbacks in the afternoon. So I think definitely invest in a basic kind of kit of good stuff that's going to hold. And I think my one thing out of all of that I would definitely recommend to you all is the Krolin sticks, the TV paint sticks, because then you can apply any powder over the top and it'll work perfectly. So yeah, thanks for all joining me today. So sorry if I rambled on. I'm not used to the live thing. But yeah, I hope, I'll wait a couple of seconds, see if anyone has any questions. But I hope it's been informative. And like I say, if anyone does have any personal questions and wants a bit more help, a lot of makeup artists now are doing live lessons. So I would say if you're a complete novice, go into a counter, go and ask a mate, go and have a lesson where you're going to get that kind of one-to-one help, and you can kind of then recreate it at home, because I think sometimes it is a really overwhelming world to get into, is the world of makeup. But yeah, I hope you have all enjoyed today, and if anyone does any questions, completely fine to drop me a message. But thank you management for having me today. I hope you all have a great rest of the week in isolation. Stay safe, everyone. Bye.